Hello, I'm Charles Kovess, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Kovess Show. Whether you're watching on Rumble, on YouTube, or listening via one of the many podcasting platforms, today it's an interview, a conversation of Dr. Jeremy McNally, who I will introduce to you shortly. This is the place for you to be inspired to live a life of passion that's guided by your self-awareness about who you are and who you wish to become. Passion is a source of unlimited energy from your soul, your spirit, your heart that enables you to produce extraordinary results. Extraordinary because most people are not passionate. This is the place you come to be inspired to discover your passion and to harness it because it's an extraordinary resource. One of my favorite quotes is that greatness can only be achieved with passion. So, let me introduce Jeremy McNally for you. But first, hello, Jeremy. Lovely to have you in this conversation.
Hey, it's great to be here, Charles. Thanks for having me.
So, Jeremy is in downtown Florida, and I'm in Melbourne, Australia. So he's 14 hours behind. I love being ahead of the people in America. It's fantastic. Makes me feel powerful. And here's Button Heart Bear shining a light on the Forever Freedom Movement, which is designed to free children forever from being trafficked for sex or slavery. More about that. You've heard me talk about Button Heart Bear previously, but it's very, very relevant to the work that Jeremy also does. So he's an entrepreneur, media executive, technologist, humanitarian speaker and mentor focused on building organizations and platforms that create opportunity, innovation, and impact. Jeremy is a co-founder and president of Relief Alliance, a non-profit focused on both immediate relief and long-term opportunity. Relief Alliance, the website is reliefalliance.com, isn't it, Jeremy? Reliefalliance.com?
Reliefalliance.org.
That's better, thank you.
Reliefalliance.org, yep.
Supports individuals and communities through homelessness, outreach, food and clothing distribution, emergency assistance, youth education, and STEM programs, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Leadership development and community initiatives. Relief Alliance has also collaborated with non-profit and international partners on humanitarian, peace, and community-focused programs. Jeremy is also chief executive of Tweeble. The link will be in the show notes, tweeble.com, where he's helping to build a new kind of networking, visibility, and opportunity platform. Tweeble gives entrepreneurs like me, professionals, speakers, non-profits, and organizations one place to connect, publish search engine optimized content, create communities, promote events, join the speaker pool, and access opportunities including TV interviews, press releases, magazine features, speaking engagements, business introductions, branding, and coaching. My description of Tweeble, Jeremy, I have signed up for it, is it's a place where anyone can build their brand without having to spend millions of dollars. Is that you can tell us more about it later, but is that the idea behind Tweeble?
That is the idea behind Tweeble. It's really meant to bring businesses together that that would have the ability to access any media service out there, from press releases, TV placements, magazine placements, allow businesses to build their communities, promote events, instantly recruit affiliates, have their own blog that doesn't just sit there. It's not a page on somebody's site. We actively promote your work, unlike other platforms do. So there's a lot that Tweeble offers on Tweeble.com. So yeah, you can sign up for free and check it out.
Beautiful.
It'd be well worth it for your brand.
And we'll come back to that and your vision behind that. You also serve as president of Gridless Global, an energy generation and solutions company providing turnkey energy-related services. Gridless Global's work spans the development and deployment of energy infrastructure, from power plant projects and large-scale energy solutions to emerging and next-generation power generation technologies. And that's particularly relevant in my area of interest as a trustee of the Global Energy Network Institute, and we'll talk about the relevance of energy. In recognition of Jeremy's leadership and community impact, he's a Congressional Award recipient. Congratulations. And Jeremy was named a 2025 Parent of the Year in connection with National Parents' Day, receiving recognition from the Senate. Across his work, Jeremy brings together business, technology, media, energy, and humanitarian service with one central mission: creating platforms, organizations, and opportunities that help people connect, grow, innovate, and make a lasting impact. And you're a doctor, Jeremy. Tell us about your doctorate.
Actually, it's an honorary doctorate degree that I received for doing the humanitarian work that my son and I do with the Relief Alliance. So you kind of mentioned it in the introduction, but my son, he's a teenager. He's 17 now. We started it a few years ago. We started Relief Alliance to provide emergency assistance and rehabilitative care to the homeless. And we also have youth empowerment programs. And to your point, we teach energy, STEM programs, career pathway programs to get into different fields like software engineering or in the energy sector, whatever it might be. We teach virtually all STEM subjects. And, that's where, I got recognized enough to have gotten that honor. So it's a really big deal. Really proud of it.
It's a big deal. I haven't got one. I'm very jealous. And behind me, as regular viewers and listeners would know, is a Dymaxion map of the world, the flat map of the world, invented by Buckminster Fuller, who was awarded 47 honorary doctorates. So, you've got 46 to go, Jeremy, just to catch up with Fuller. Now, ironic that I'm speaking to you today with my Hungarian background. Whilst I was born in Australia, both my parents are Hungarian. Today, August the 20th, is St. Stephen's Day, and St. Stephen, that's Hungary's national day. So it's a big deal. 20 August every year, and so perfect timing that we are meeting and talking. At the same time this morning, earlier, I was on a call with people in Hungary and California, having a conversation around business. And it's very relevant to youth empowerment. The conversation went thus: in America, it is difficult to find young people with the right attitude who want to work. All right, this is California we're talking. And we had this conversation because one of the crucial elements to being successful in business is to pick good people as part of your team. So, Jeremy, what's your sense of the difficulty? You see, there's a distinction between young people, this entitlement concept, versus the opposite, you who've gone out and created stuff, and your 17-year-old son. Give me an overview of how difficult it is to find young people who actually want to work and are willing to, to work hard.
I think that I think that it's not as hard as some might think. There's a lot of youth out there that do want to work. They just need the exposure to the opportunities that'll allow them to work and explore their own interests. A lot of youth, they get stuck on video games or watching TV all day because as a kid, that's what they have. They need somebody pushing them in the right directions, showing them what's out there, exposing them to what could be. And if they had that, you'd see a lot more youth out there trying to maybe start their own businesses or, be an intern for a marketing company at 13 years old. There's a lot of children out there who really do want to work. And it's just they need the opportunity and the exposure to learn what those opportunities are.
Yes, it's quite clear that the saying that my friend shared was that life starts in the kitchen. And I'm grateful in my home that I had parents, we grew up, the kitchen was the center of the home. But it seems to me that there's a lot of young people who haven't had that gift of growing up in a house where the family comes together in the kitchen and there's conversation and there's principles.
You're right. You're absolutely right about that. And you can't control what happens behind the doors at someone's home. But there are organizations out there like Relief Alliance that does help youth get that exposure to opportunities. We also provide those opportunities. So it's a really big deal for people to come together to offer these things, not just to youth, not just to the underprivileged, but as a whole to society. I think it's I believe it's my duty as the president of Relief Alliance to provide this to youth, to adults, whoever it might be.
So I love that you say that there are plenty of youth willing to work. You have to find that they need the opportunity, and you're in the business of create youth empowerment, you said.
Yes.
Now, is Tweeble going to be a place where people might be able to find youth willing to work?
Currently, not necessarily. So Tweeble is,
Or is it Relief Alliance, where if people want to give young people a chance,
yes,
is that the place to go?
That is the place to go. So Relief Alliance, our nonprofit organization, provides those opportunities to youth. One thing, for example, is we have a TV show called Teen X TV. It's for youth and it's led by youth. So we have kids ranging from 10 years old to just under 20 years old participating. And what we do is we get them into exclusive red carpet events in Hollywood, California, or maybe industry mixers in Miami. It doesn't matter what part of the country they're in. We find those opportunities for them. They go and they interview celebrities or, the guests or, anybody notable, and they'll ask them questions that other youth might like to learn. Like, what do you do differently than everybody else? What would you give me for advice as somebody who's 15 years old looking to get into this field? So they're asking questions that other youth could benefit from. But opportunities like that, not necessarily that, although that is an option. There's other things as well. So, does that answer your question, Charles?
Well, I want to give people reasons to go and check out reliefalliance.org. And
yes.
Is it, my understanding is you are making a global impact, not just an American impact.
That's correct. For example, we just sent a bunch of clothes out to Nigeria to people that need them. We picked the clothes up in New Hampshire, drove them down to DC, dropped them off, and they were shipped off from there. We're also working with other organizations. In this case, Do the Dream. They hold EcoSoc status with the United Nations, and we designed the curriculum that's going to be presented at the UN's General Assembly. It's coming up in September. This curriculum is STEM energy career pathways program, and it's meant to get youth and other people, for that matter, into the energy industry. In fact, there's a more emphasis as well on getting women into the energy industry, because there's a fraction of women compared to the amount of men that are in that industry. So there's a twist there. But it's definitely available to everybody. If you could go into that program with little to no knowledge about anything energy related and walk out with the ability to take learn more, maybe start a career or design a project. But it does end with picking a community problem, designing a solution for it, building a solution for it, and testing that solution and pitching it. That's an example of what we do around the world. And that was just recent.
No wonder you got an honorary doctorate. That is very exciting, because as a trustee of the Global Energy Network Institute, so geniefoundation.org.au, and the American parent is genie.org, GENI.org, I have created in my role as trustee a program called 10,000 for 10,000.
Yes.
And I'm looking for, under this program, 10,000 companies that each want to sponsor one village that does not currently have electricity. And in Africa, there's at least 400,000 villages that have no electricity. In India, the number I have from my Indian connections is 320,000 villages in India have no electricity. And so it seems to me, and I'm looking for, if a company's looking at this, sponsors can sponsor one village, and the investment can be anywhere from $5,000 to $200,000. And Jeremy, you're going to be the guy who has the knowledge and the know-how. When a company says, right, I've got $10,000, and here's the value to the company. Rather than donating $10,000 to a charity, the company gives $10,000 to the leaders of that village, who then install a renewable energy generation facility, and that can be one of 6 generators. All right, it can, depending on the location, it can be wind or hydro or solar or biomass or geothermal, or the last one, tidal, depending if they're on the river. Sorry, depending on whether they are, on the ocean. And you would be able to then work out what the best technology is for that village, correct?
Absolutely. Through our company, Gridless Global, we build power plants. It's an energy generation company, so I highly recommend checking it out, giving us a call on that. But we are in the energy sector, and we're trying to actively make things better and recruit people into the industry that aren't in it now, especially minorities and, energy related minorities like women, for example.
So, and its website, Gridless Global, is it gridlessglobal.com?
It is, yes. The website is down right at the moment because we're going through a complete revamp of it. It should be up in the next couple days or so.
Excellent. So that's a resource, everybody. So if your company's looking to make an impact, just imagine what it's like. And I've seen videos of this in Africa where you have to burn dung or you have a kerosene generator. Buckminster Fuller discovered in his life work that the foundational difference between rich and poor countries is electricity. Electricity is the foundational difference. The second most important factor is a functioning legal system, because if the legal system doesn't function, then investors won't come into a new environment. And so there's a direct correlation between electricity availability and affordability and GDP. More electricity, GDP goes up. Guess what comes down, Jeremy? In high GDP, as GDP goes up, what comes down?
You tell me. What is it?
Birth rates.
Birth rates.
Birth rates. Every rich country has a naturally reducing population, because in poor villages when there's no electricity, people have lots of kids. And Fuller demonstrated that when you have no electricity, you have a lot of children to do the labour. Plus, there's also a higher child death rate because of lack of sanitation, lack of clean water. And then what electricity does is totally change those demographics. So there's some wonderful, wonderful charts of GDP and birth rate. As GDP goes up, birth rate comes down. And so the lie that is shared that the world's population is going to inexorably increase is actually not true. Very interesting. When you look at that, it's migration that changes the dynamics, but Japan, for example, is in big trouble. China, its birth rates is dropping alarmingly. And, for those, there might be people watching this, I have moderated meetings of geopolitical experts who say this, and this is my provocative statement to you. The evidence I have seen is that China's population is nowhere near 1 billion, let alone 1.4 billion, for this similar syndrome. That to keep a population increasing is a big challenge. So let's go back. Jeremy, I love that you're an expert on Gridless Global. You and I are going to be doing a lot of work together on getting electricity to these villages. And the interesting thing is, when one village gets a facility, the next village does. They can put a line. They can put a wire between them and share electricity. Correct?
Yeah, that would be great. I'd love to work with you to bring energy to different villages that don't have it now. I would absolutely love to get involved with work like that.
So what we need is companies that want to sponsor. We need a company. We've got Jeremy as the tech capability, and we've got the vision for Genie, Global Energy Network Institute. So Jeremy, tell me about your raising as a child. What created you that you are doing this amazing work? Because I do admire what you've done, and it's incredible.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, when I was a kid, my family stood behind me every step of the way. I'm a real big believer in having a strong family unit. If it wasn't for my family, I would absolutely not be here today talking to you or doing what I'm doing. So I really attribute a lot of what I've done to how I was raised and how much support I had growing up. My grandparents, really emphasized the compassion over self-indulgence, I suppose you could say. And, that meant going out, feeding the homeless, volunteering at the church, raise money through the Knights of Columbus at the time. I spent most of my life doing that, actually, until we moved down here to Florida. But it was really just getting out there in the community and helping people, also seeing how my grandparents were together. Back then, their relationships lasted forever, and theirs lasted their whole lives until my grandfather passed away last year. But nonetheless, just how they were with each other really set an example for me. My parents, same thing, great people. And I just attribute a lot of it to just how I was raised by my family, I guess. And of course, life experiences sent me down a lot of roads I didn't expect to go down too, I've had my struggles. I've had, great times. I've had bad times, just like most people have. And it really has shaped what I do and my beliefs.
Can you remember when you were 20 what your vision was for your life? See, I had the gift, as you're thinking about that question, and as people know, I haven't given you a series of questions that I'm asking you, have I, Jeremy? This is
No.
you're taking the risk. So depending on stream of consciousness, and I'm very much inspired by Buckminster Fuller, who could speak for 5 days with no preparation, just stream of consciousness. That's what experience and learning helps us to do. But it gives us the opportunity to be inspired, because the space that I'm in today and that you're in, Jeremy, this is a unique conversation that's never happened in history. But when I was 20, I was doing my 3rd year of law school at Melbourne University, because right from an early age, I wanted to be a lawyer. So at 20, I knew exactly what my pathway was going to be. I was going to be a lawyer. Precisely how that would unfold. What was your vision at 20? And secondly, compare that to the youth that you're trying to help. I just want to get an understanding from your experience of helping youth.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when I was 20, that's a great question. I think at the time I had a magazine called Connect with Classifieds in Morning News. And it was a free publication, that I'd drive up and down the seacoast, because at the time I lived in New Hampshire, and I'd drop it off at Wendy's, pizza shops, coffee shops, wherever. And you'd walk in, you'd see people reading it. There'd be classified ads, and I made my money to afford to be able to print those through selling advertisements. Although I couldn't figure out how to get above a certain cap, and ultimately went out of business, sometime later, say a couple of years down the road, to pursue new ventures, start a career, go to college. This is around the time when my son, was on the way, and I changed my whole life. When I found out he was coming, that's when I got into college and got my bachelor's degree, then got my master's degree, and started a career in software engineering. But that was me. As far as my experience with other youth, I think, again, like I kind of indicated before, it's guidance. A lot of these children don't know where they want to go. They don't know what they want to do. They think they might, but they don't know what's out there. So when they're exposed to something different, it's like, oh, wow, that's actually pretty cool. I want to learn more. Maybe it's a path I want to go down. Right. And it's just giving them exposure to it in a fun way, or in a way that helps them understand why they might want to do it. One thing that I've realized is that, kids that go to school, the public schools, for example, I won't say all of them, a lot of them, they'll teach you math, they'll teach you science. Let's just use math as an example. A lot of kids, from my experience, don't like it. I remember when I was a kid learning math, I didn't know why I was learning it, so I just didn't want to learn it. Right? Nobody took the time to explain to me, well, this long equation, what is that going to do for my future? Right? How am I going to be able to use this in life? And if I couldn't relate it to what I might want to do later or could do later, I didn't see the importance in it. And at the time, I didn't focus on learning it because it wasn't important to me, and nobody could explain it to me in a way that made it important to me. So they're teaching things without explaining why they're teaching these things, why these kids might want to know it. They might not use it. but it's worth at least knowing why they might want to use it. So, that's how we approach things differently at Relief Alliance. Is we teach them the subjects, yes, but we're also teaching why that they might want to do it, and every step of the way. It's just exposing them to so many different things, because everything as a youth is a learning experience if you treat it that way. So I think that's how I'd answer.
So how does Relief Alliance work? How do you get your funding to do all this wonderful work?
Well, actually, we've gotten by being self-funded. We haven't had a lot of donations because we haven't asked. It would certainly help to be funded, yes. However, I've been funding it out of my own pocket, just to help the community and the world. At this point, we've scaled rapidly, and fortunately, we're still able to go and keep kicking, given the fact that we aren't funded, and we're in countries all over the world now. It's people coming together to support each other, and that's how we made it. We're an alliance as well. We support youth, we support the underprivileged. But to be able to get here without being funded, it took building an alliance. It took bringing people together, organizations together to drive impact, share resources, grow together, resource one another. So that's been a huge thing for us as we've built ourselves up. But don't get me wrong, we'd love to get funded. It would be very helpful. We'd be able to do so much more in the communities that we serve.
So everybody, if you want an organisation to support, consider reliefalliance.org. Check it out. I think there's a real problem in Australia and America and UK and certainly the West, but Africa as well, of this problem of youth unemployment. There's this sense of hopelessness. I've never had that. I've never been hopeless. When you look at, what Christ said. What is it? Faith, hope, and charity, I think was the thing. Faith, hope, charity, or faith, hope, and love. Anyway, but living hopelessly is a shocking way to live, and I can understand why young people would want to destroy a system in America if there's no hope. If they go, well, this system didn't generate hope for me, and this program is all about self-awareness and going, gosh, what is my sense of hope? And secondly, what is my responsibility to do something about young people? Because that's our future. Ties into the whole education system. We have a problem in Australia and America, clearly with the education system. You've touched on it. And I know plenty of people, including my daughter, who hated maths. But in business, she's an absolute whiz. And indeed, my wife, at school, she was not interested in maths at all, and she's absolutely fantastic on maths. I love maths. I did math science before I became a lawyer. So this creating the future, everyone watching this, we are responsible for the future of our countries. It's our responsibility. It's not the politicians. You can't rely on the politicians. Jeremy, you have taken those steps. You've stood out there, taken personal responsibility, but the impact of your grandparents and your parents that enabled you to do that. So that's the gift that you are passing on, correct?
I would like to think so, yes.
So tie that now to Tweeble, because it seems to me that you create, I want to unpack Tweeble, what your vision is there, because Relief Alliance should be one of the members of Tweeble so that you can spread the word about the great work you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We're out there all over the place. Relief Alliance. We actually just spoke on a panel at the high level political forum at the United Nations a few weeks back for girls in energy. We were just talking about that earlier. But as far as Tweeble's concerned, and just to clarify, you were asking me about Tweeble, right?
I want people to understand it, because my perspective on Tweeble that I only got exposed to when we had a conversation last week was, I think it's a brilliant idea to be able for people to get their message out in a way that's not going to cost millions.
Yeah, absolutely. So every small business owner, they have a very similar problem. They publish into a void. They'll write a blog that nobody reads. They'll list their business in a directory that nobody searches, or they'll post an event to a group chat where it gets scrolled away in seconds maybe, or 20 minutes. So Tweeble, it's one platform where all of that lives. So your blog, your community, your events, your courses, your online courses, your business profile, your speaker profile even. And the difference is that we actively promote those things that you publish. There's not another platform that I've found out there that actually promotes what you publish so it gets seen. We have a lot of reach. We're in all over the world, our media company and our nonprofit organization. Our media company, Wealth Strategy Media, owns Tweeble. And so we have we spent multiple years building the infrastructure to be able to support small businesses the same way that Fortune 500 companies were only able to do before. We could provide TV placement opportunities, magazine placements, press releases that go to thousands, and you'll spend less than you would at EIN Presswire. And the thing is we use EIN Presswire, but you'd still pay less by going to us. Speaking engagements, all of these are redeemable with credits right inside of Tweeble. And also, there's a lot of business owners that have trouble marketing their services, their events, and more to their database. With Tweeble, you instantly recruit affiliates when you post an event. You instantly recruit affiliates when you post your speaker profile, and we promote it for you. Emails, they don't get read a whole lot compared to SMS or text messaging. That's one thing that we're going to be implementing by next week. So we'll have a custom CRM right inside of Tweeble for your business that, you'd have to go and pay another subscription fee for today. That is included for free, right? So all of these things I just said, blogging, posting and promoting your events, building out your affiliates, building out your CRM, those are free features. You can get a free account in Tweeble and use that. If you want to redeem for media services, that's a subscription, but nonetheless, you redeem credits, and it's very, very cost effective compared to what you'd spend anywhere else, because we did spend the last couple of years building the infrastructure that nobody else has been able to do in this entire world until now that I'm aware of.
And the official launch date was it the 13th of August or the 14th of August?
It was about a week ago. So yeah, I think it was about the 13th or...
I was hoping it would be the 14th of August, but I think it was the 13th of August, Thursday the 13th.
Yeah. Well, so it actually might have been the 12th, and then, we waited a day to tell everybody. We had a couple friends in there, and family members. But yes, about the 13th is when we publicized the fact that Tweeble was public.
Well, I prefer the 12th of August. The 12th of August is a great day, 12/08/2026.
Yes.
And so lock that day into your memory banks, Jeremy, and make that an annual celebration, the 12th of August each year.
I will. Even though we've launched a week ago, we're already over 50 users. It's only been a week. Now I'm on your show, your listeners. I hope they join, because they will benefit. If they have a small business, they're an entrepreneur using Tweeble.com, they will absolutely benefit if they take advantage of what's there. So it's going to grow fast. It's already growing fast. So it's a huge win. And I'm hoping that it really, really does a number on helping small businesses achieve the goals that they set out to achieve when they started.
Well, I congratulate you on starting. I think it's a wonderful resource. It's what business needs, because people struggle. And I've been in a situation where I've had 50, 100,000 views when I'm a guest on a podcast, but nothing comes from it, because there's so much noise.
Yeah.
It's so hard to get attention.
It is hard to get attention. And I think that's something that, anybody who's been in business is well familiar with. And that's a hard hurdle to pass. We had to pass it ourselves. And that's why we built this infrastructure, because we had a problem. I've had a software company for, since 2015, 12, 13 years now, called McNally Software. We do build web apps, websites, very, very cost effective. You won't pay any we charge way less than any company you'd ever go to, and we have reasons why we can, and I can explain that if anybody's ever interested. But nonetheless, we had a hard time bringing in business ourselves, and we needed to get exposure. So we started off out in Hollywood, California. We had no idea how to use media. We had no idea who to talk to and what connections to develop, or even how to develop those connections. But we went to Hollywood, California, and everything kicked off. We went to a red carpet, got a ton of media exposure. It was me and my teen son, and it struck really well. People really resonated with our message and the work we're doing in the communities through our nonprofit. And it, we just naturally built a network, and it led into trying to get our nonprofit exposure, which took us into the media sphere of TV, magazines, speaking engagements, events, from all over the world. And now here we are with a media company, because we learned how to take these things and use them for ourselves. And now we're able to give them to other people through Tweeble.
What a wonderful story. We learnt. That's the journey, isn't it? It's the learning journey. Now, coming back to the learning journey. So congratulations. I love hearing that. I love hearing the time it takes to develop something good. And I'm a golfer. How long does it take to become good at golf or swimming or triathlons? I've been competing in triathlons for 40 years. It takes time, doesn't it?
It does. It takes a lot of trial and error, and the more resources businesses have to move the needle for themselves, the better. And if it's already figured out and offered to them, they could save years and a lot of money just by using Tweeble in our case, because that's what we're offering. We offer a way to grow businesses, and we really have it all under our roof, and it's going to be well worth going in and checking it out. Get a free account even just to see what's in there and take advantage of all the features that Tweeble offers. It's going to save a lot from what we had to do ourselves when we first started. All the things we learned, we rolled it into Tweeble, and we built the infrastructure to provide and fulfill all of it. So I just hope the listeners here listening to me hear that, because I understand how hard it is to run a business. Late nights, family time, you spending less of it. There's a lot of things in life that takes a hit when you're running a business. You can loosen that up a little bit by leveraging us. We are a resource, and you can trust us. We are always out in the community helping people. Our mission is to help people. So I would love to get to know anybody that wants to learn more.
It's wonderful, wonderful. Where did the word Tweeble come from?
Actually, so a long time ago, I built an app called Tweeble. I remember I paid like $1,800 for the domain name years back. And I built an application that was, if you know Dropbox, that was a lot like Dropbox, and I'm biased, of course, but really it was better than Dropbox. And, at the time, I just didn't have a lot of money. I don't now even, right? Like, we run a nonprofit. We're trying to make it work with being self-funded. But back then, I built this app, and, we put it out there, and ultimately, I had employees that couldn't stay, and there was a lot of gaps in knowledge when they left, and it was really hard to take over, and I never was able to get those resources back, and that really took a hit. So we took the app down, still have all the code for it, but it just never went live again. But I still had the domain name Tweeble, and I was, me and Aiden talked. My partner Sweta, she's my fiance. We were like, what do we use? And we just passed Tweeble in my domain list, and we were just like, all right, let's go for it. So we did, and here we are.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful story. Love it. Tweeble.com, everybody. Last question, or last couple of questions around you personally, because this program is designed to help people work out how they want to live life.
Yes.
And how to do it on their own terms, self-awareness, to discover their passion. And one of the You are a success story. My favourite definition of success comes from Earl Nightingale in his famous recorded speech called "The Strangest Secret." And success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And you have articulated your worthy ideal. So, Jeremy, you are a success because you're progressively realizing what you see needs to be done. So, on the other hand, you're also working quite hard. So, I'm interested in your disciplines. One of my mantras is that discipline leads to freedom. So, if you're disciplined with your use of money, it leads to freedom. If you're disciplined with your exercise, it leads to freedom, because if you're in a hospital bed, you can hardly be free. So in your amazing life to date, and I consider you a success, I am a success because I also am progressively realizing my worthy ideal. What are the disciplines that you observe mentally, physically, spiritually?
Well, I mean, as far as my disciplines go, I think it's in staying focused on a bigger vision, while managing multiple responsibilities. You're constantly thinking about business growth, media, technology. When I say me, my humanitarian work, partnerships that are required to keep things going and working right, and new opportunities. Mental discipline. It just shows, really, I suppose, and willingness to solve problems and make difficult decisions that need to be made, learning, adapting, and just keep moving. Not everything's a win, not everything's a success. There's a lot of failures along the way, and
So
you just
one
got
of
to
your
keep.
disciplines, so one of your disciplines, listening to that, is the discipline to keep going even though you might stumble.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you give up when you stumble, you'll never get anywhere, because stumbling is just a fact of life. No matter what you do, you're going to stumble, you're going to fail. It's about overcoming those failures and learning from them, and just keeping yourself going. The moment you give up, that's when it's over.
What do you do in the mornings what's your normal routine when you get up in the morning? Because it seems that most successful people are early risers. There are some who are not, but the you don't have to rise early in the morning, but the discipline upon arising, what does that look like for you? Or do you just wing it? I'm sure you don't.
No, no, it depends. I mean, I do like to wake up. I mean, some people, when you say early, that means like 4 or 5 in
I
the
didn't mean
morning.
I didn't mean early. I mean I was interested in your disciplines whenever you awaken.
Yeah, I mean, when I awaken, I just go get ready for the day and get on my laptop. At night, what I do is I'll reflect on my day that I've had, and then what I need to do the next day. So I don't wake up confused, wasting time the moment I wake up. I've found that when I don't plan the next day, um, the night before, I'll wake up and I have so much on my plate, I won't even know where to start, and I won't get a lot done. But if I think it through the night before and plan out my day and reflect on the prior day, I mean, the day just goes a lot better, because I'm not questioning what needs to be done, what's more important, what's a higher priority. Because without it, that's what's happening. You have that mind game where you're just constantly asking yourself those questions, and then you just end up not getting anything done. So I think that's my
That's a pretty
discipline
that's
there.
that's beautifully put. Jim Rohn, I learnt that from him a long, long time ago. That set the sails the night before, so that when you wake up, that's very good. What about your health? What steps do you do to stay healthy?
Just yesterday, for example, I took the bike out with my fiance, Sweta, and we just rode around for a couple hours. If we're not doing that, we might go and exercise down at the gym. Eating healthy, home cooked food is such a blessing. I'm lucky because my fiance cooks incredible food, and it's all healthy. So that really helps. So that, coupled with exercise, helps keep my mind clear, I feel. And when I don't, I definitely feel that too. I feel the cloudiness, the mental fog, the lethargicism, and just everything you don't want to feel. So exercising and eating right, I think, are two huge priorities in life, or should be for anybody.
Excellent. Well, Jeremy, all of a sudden it's 45 minutes and we're in trouble because I like to keep these to less than an hour, unlike Joe Rogan, who goes for 3.5 hours. I think your life, the beautiful unfolding of your life and your willingness to be in the game is most commendable. I consider you a huge success because, as I say, you're progressively realizing your worthy ideal. You're making a big impact in so many ways through Relief Alliance. Anyone who can support Relief Alliance, please check it out, reliefalliance.org. Tweeble, I will, in fact, I've set up, I am subscribing because what you're saying there is such a challenge for everybody, and I love the years of experience that has led to, and I expect to be doing lots of work with you into the future, Jeremy, because we have a lot of problems to solve in empowering youth. So thank you for being on the show. Is there any last words you would like to share?
I just really appreciate the honor of having the opportunity to be here tonight with you, Charles. Thanks for having me. And I would love for people to come check out Tweeble.com. It was built for entrepreneurs, coaches, speakers, performers, small businesses, even mid businesses, large businesses. It will help. So please check it out. Contact me directly or through Tweeble at any point in time. I'm always easygoing and not too hard to get a hold of. So, but that's it. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Jeremy. And also, yes, Jeremy?
I have one more thing. And Relief Alliance, we always need support. We are self-funded. We do need volunteers. We're always looking to collaborate with new people, new organizations, other nonprofits. And yes, we definitely could use funding. We're just horrible at asking for it. But with more funding, we could do so much more in the communities that we serve. Get to know us, get to know what we do, and see if it's for you. We are looking for additional board members as well. So please, reach out from a Relief Alliance charity standpoint as well as Tweeble. So thanks again, Charles.
And can those board members come from elsewhere, not just America?
They can, yes. We operate all over.
I've got someone in mind as you say that, but please, that's a great point. There are opportunities on boards, so if that's of interest to you, please get in touch with Jeremy or me. And also, if you're a company that wants to sponsor, is looking for corporate social responsibility to sponsor a village with electricity, please also get in touch. That would be that's the 10,000 of the 10,000 project. So Jeremy, thank you, congratulations, and on we go. Let's make the world a better place.
Thanks, Charles. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.